Hi everyone, Vortex TCG here, and today I've got a gameplay video showcasing Chessmon, and I'll be playing against Hercules Kabuterimon X Antibody. Big name for a deck, if I'm being honest, but that is what the deck is. So I'm going to start off here by going into the Duo Tamer, and then also play a Pawn Chessmon. So I've got a really good start here, essentially able to gain quite a bit of advantage just from the get-go. So I swing into security with the pawn chess. I get to do the Pagumon, which allows me to add a top card if it's black, or black Digimon in specific. I then am able to play another pawn chessmon, which is quite nice. I swing with the knight chessmon, and unfortunately it doesn't die, so I'm not able to continue my turn. So I just go into, I believe this is the bishop knightmon, and now got one memory to play with, so I just go into all the chessmons. I think this is bishop chessmon, a blocker, and then I'm able to reboot it with the knight inheritable. So he goes into a Kawamon, swings into security, but I tell him like, hey, like this is a blocker, so you might not want to do that, and it will die. So he goes into Hercules Kabuteri to pass the turn, and I feel like I'm in a really good position at this point. So I've got two swings on the board. He can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. So at this moment I'm just trying to think if there is a way that I could advance my board state even further. And the way I do this is by going to, I believe this is bishop chessmon. So I decide to swing here into security. It doesn't die, unfortunately, I don't think. Oh no, it does die, because that's 7k and the Akawu is 8k. I then play a knight to then pop use the Duo Tamer to then gain a memory and draw a card. This Duo Tamer is really good for this deck, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I end up playing the king, go into the queen by deleting the knight, and then also from the knight effect play the other knight as well. So I've got a really strong board here, obviously. I mean, this is the setup that you really want with this deck, if I'm being perfectly honest. You want to go into your knight, your king, and then play out a queen, and then also play out something else. So he is able to suspend one of my guys and also gain a memory from the Izzy Azumi. And so here I'm just checking, like he's swinging into, I believe, the knight. I'm going to block with the queen, and that pretty much shuts down his entire turn. So he passes me with 2. And I feel pretty confident. I just promote, and I should have enough swings here. I swing with the Junkmon, it dies. I'm able to add the Strike-Dramon, swing with the knight, and then swing for game. We then get into game 2 here, and then my opponent is going to let me start. I go into the pawn chessmon here, and he just hard plays the Kawagomon here, so bricking a little bit here for my opponent, which is a bit unfortunate. I promote the pawn, go into the Strike-Dramon, use this effect. Unfortunately, I do not get a Tamer, which is very unfortunate, but I've played Strike-Dramon enough in Justimon to not get any Tamers, so I'm kind of used to it. I then go into the bishop to pass the turn. Maybe a little bit risky for me, but I am playing with the idea that my opponent might not have all the cards here. So unfortunately though, he is able to suspend my bishop, and if he does swing into it, essentially it means that I won't be able to get the play from the bishop, unfortunately. So I get the Pagu here, but unfortunately I do not get the play from the bishop. Just checking the effects because I haven't seen this card in quite a while. I draw, I end up hatching here, and I'm only at 1 memory, so I feel like I haven't really got much to do here, unfortunately. So I'm just considering my follow-up here. I just end up playing the Duo Tamer, then playing another pawn, but unfortunately this pawn is also the same, has to be deleted on my turn, so unfortunately not really able to get many of the benefits here. So as you see, he has the Okawamon here, so he's able to suspend it, and it's a bit of a deja vu, to say the least. He swings into it, gets to do a piercing check. It is a queen, so that's some sort of nice for me at least, stopping my opponent's play from continuing essentially. He goes into the Grand Quagomon here, which is this is the promo from BT7. I think this allows you to suspend if you have a tamer, which is quite nice for this strategy. Not too sure how I feel about it. I feel like the promo Grand Quagga is probably the better one. So I just play up, I believe this is the Nightmon. So yeah, I'm just hoping that the same thing doesn't happen again, essentially. He goes into Needle Spray, which obviously confirms my fears. He swings into it. Oh no, he's able to bottom deck it with the Hercules. And then he swings, does 2 checks. First check was the Knight, and then the second check was the Bishop. So not great hits from me, if I'm being perfectly honest, but is what it is. You can't really do much about it, unfortunately. I then get a Rookie going here, which is not that bad, and then I'm also able to I'm just playing a level 5 here just because hopefully he will be able to answer it, and even if he does answer it by deleting the guy, I'll be able to play a guy out. So hopefully that helps me out here, but I'm a little bit uncertain at this point, if I'm being perfectly honest. So he's bringing up his stack. I'm just thinking if I want to block, and I think here I do want to block because if I'm being perfectly honest, I can't really let him do a swing because if he might have an answer in my hand, in his hand, which allows him to, you know, essentially beat my plan here. So I have to believe block here and then just play out the other guy here. So he builds up quite a board here. He puts me on 1 again, which is very frustrating, but I think here I just have to answer with one particular card, and that is obviously going to be the Death X mon you can see in my hand right there. So I think in this case, I mean, I do get to play it for a lot cheaper, but he does get a lot of memory to play stuff out, unfortunately. So not too sure what to do in this situation fully, but well, my opponent to do fully, because I know Death X is going to be a bit of a problem for him. Obviously you could play around it by playing level 3s, but that means he's ending his turn by playing a level 3 instead of advancing his game state. So it slows the game down quite a lot here. So at this point, I mean, we're kind of like at a stalemate. We can't really do that much. So he plays a level 3 and passes the turn, like I mentioned before. And at this point, I'm feeling a little bit more confident to go for my plays. So at this point, I'm just considering, do I want to go for a king play here? Is there any other things that I can do? But the first thing I decide to do is go, I believe, into the Strike Dramon, because it does 2 things very good here. It allows me to activate the Junkmon when I do delete it, if I do decide to delete it, and also allows me to find a Tamer. The Tamer can help me out quite a lot here. I do have Heaven's Judgment in my hand, but I feel like here it doesn't really do enough. I mean, I can obviously play it, but then I'm giving my opponent 7 memory, and I feel like if I give my opponent 7 memory, he'll pretty much be able to answer the board that I'll be preparing and go for game. So essentially here you can see it, I've got the king, just considering you know, what is the right option here. But I do go into the king, I delete the Strike Dramon stack, just considering, yep, so I will delete that to then play out another Chessmon. Obviously play out the queen here, obviously the main combo of this deck. Use the Miki, the Geotamer, to gain a memory and draw a card. So put him to 3, which, well, he'll go to 2, but he'll go to 3 anyways. But I'm just doing that just so I can get the draw, because obviously nothing on my field can obviously delete anything. Or bring something out, essentially. So just pretty much using it for an additional draw here. So my opponent's got a pretty good board here. He's got the Grand Quagga, and he's also got the I believe this is the Quagamon in the coming up. Obviously this one's pretty nice because it has piercing, I believe, so definitely good for this type of strategy. He puts the X antibody card underneath, and I think he's aware that I've got a blocker out, and he decides to go to Hidden Potential Discovered, suspending the Hercules to go into the Ikawa, using the suspend on the Queen Chessmon here, and then goes into the Grand Quagu to suspend the King here. I believe he is swinging into the Knight Chessmon here, oh, not the Knight, the King Chessmon here, but we're just checking effects here because he used the Quagu to make sure that my guy doesn't unsuspend, but due to Queen's effect, it gets to be unsuspended due to the fact that you killed a king. So I've got a pretty good chance here because obviously it sucks that the king's gone, but now he's got a pretty open field and he can't really do that much about it, unfortunately. So I think here he's forced to play a level 3 here just to make sure that nothing can happen. So he plays level 3 and then passes the turn. And so here, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position because now I can clear both of these guys and he can't really do much, unfortunately. So I swing into both the guys here, go into a pawn here, and I'm just checking my chessmon pieces because I might be able to get even more advantage coming out. So here I just play, I believe this is the knight, tap both of the duotame. I think I'm just considering here if I want to do this because I might have an answer on the following turn. But what I do here is that I tap both to draw 2 and gain 2 memory. The memory obviously doesn't really matter that much, or it does matter in this case because it still keeps them at 3. But I mean, it's additional draws, and you can't complain about additional draws. He passes the turn, and unfortunately, I think that spells the end of the game for him. Unfortunately, he's gone through so many resources. I don't think he's been able to make another stack. I play another duotamer, play out a pawn, tap all 3 of them to gain 3 memory and draw 3 cards. Feels pretty good to say the least. Here I go for the queen swing first because essentially if I survive with the queen and then one of my other pawn, my pawn or the knight dies, I'm able to then unsuspend and potentially go for game here. So just playing for all of my outs essentially. So here I just end up playing the king, using the effect to delete, play out a queen, using the pawn effect to then play out another guy out for free. And in this case, I believe I play out a knight or a bishop. No, I play another pawn out here just because it has blocker. So if he has any answer, he can't really do much about it. But he hard plays a level 4, pass the turn, and then I pretty much swing for game with all the guys on the field. Hopefully there's no effects. There isn't, and that is game.